When Hurricane Katrina hit in August 2005, students from the 6 New Orleans colleges were scattered around the country. In January, USA Today reported that 73% of those students returned for the spring semester.
There's a lot of people that feel like deeply connected to the city and really want to see it not just come back, but come back as an even better version of its old self.
The return of students nearly doubled the decimated population of the Crescent City, bringing the will to rebuild with them.
I think it's one of only a few truly original cities within the United States. And people say, well, why don't you move the city or whatever? And you can't do that. I mean, it's the geography has truly shaped this city into what it is. And if you move it or if you just don't build it, it just won't happen again.
The form of the house is different from the typical shotgun. We sort of,
Emily Taylor is a recent graduate of Tulane's architecture school. She remained in the city for the summer to follow through on a project she started with the other students in the program.
What we developed as a studio, we developed 5 different prototypical housing strategies specific for this neighborhood. And then as a studio, we decided which one of those we wanted to go ahead and build. And so this is the one that was selected. This house in this neighborhood, because of where the floodwaters rose to, they were about 3.5 feet high. And so the height of that finished floor relates to what occurred during Katrina in terms of flooding. But the idea with this being a prototype is that that height is variable, so that if you're in a neighborhood where the flooding was much more substantial, that finished floor is allowed to rise, but this porch remains at the same height. At no point does the home become completely detached from the street. You always have some portion that's sort of towing in and engaging in the street dialogue.
David Dempsey and Robert Deacon are Tulane architecture students helping to build this house.
Been down here for 6 months and had done some community work in the neighborhood, but not as much as I'd hoped to have gotten done this semester. And it seemed like a really great opportunity to both do something that I don't think I ever really had the opportunity to do before, build a house with a bunch of friends, and also help out the city that really could use the help in the building process.
We think it's valuable to help out in the best way that we can. And as architecture students, that is through kind of an effort in order to not only help rebuild the city from the damage of the flood, but also try to correct the problems that occurred or that had occurred or exist within the city beforehand.
Students from Loyola University New Orleans teamed up with Chalmette Refining to clean up the entrance to St. Bernard Parish. They hope to bring signs of life back to an area that was devastated by Katrina. The students are members of Gamma Phi Beta sorority.
I think it's going to make people realize that the parish is coming back, and just it takes a little bit at a time to work towards our goal of rebuilding.
I worked hard digging that place. But it's like there. A tree. Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Ready, go. There's many different ways of helping people out, many different ways of rebuilding people's life, and now when they're entered a parish, they'll be able to see some plant life and some growth. And it's been really interesting because even from last weekend, we didn't put anything in, we just cleaned it up. We got tons of phone calls and a lot of people that just said how great it was that they, this place is cleaned up. So now this week, when we're going to put color in, it's going to be really neat for them to see that. It's just really great to see all these girls out here because we couldn't have done it without them, especially this weekend. So to see them just come out and push us together, they worked their little behinds off. So thank you so much.
New Orleans students are not alone in their efforts to rebuild. College kids from all over are coming to help too. Students from the University of Montana and Kansas State University are helping Ronald Lewis to rebuild not only his lower Ninth Ward home, but his small Mardi Gras museum as well.
I had 14 feet of water up to the rooftop. in my house. I had my little building in the back that I call a House of Dance and Feather, was a workshop / mini museum. Something that was my give back to the community of trying to educate the youths and adults who sort of lacking the knowledge of why we're Mardi Gras and why we dress up as skeletons and why we continue doing this since the 1840s.
Ronald says that life is returning to his community.
If you tour this stretch of Tupelo Street from St. Claude Avenue to Claiborne, you'll see the trailers that's within this 5-block radius. And you can peep in some of the houses to see the houses that's been gutted out. And we're working with these community organizations or pinpointing houses that still need to be cleaned out and stuff so we can help the community move forward.
Melody Jacobson came to New Orleans with Project Locust, a nonprofit organization working with Kansas State University on this project. She gave up her whole summer to rebuild Ronald's house and the museum.
I think that most people don't really realize how much there is to do down here. Most of these houses along here haven't gotten cleaned out yet, and it's been almost a year. So it's starting to smell when you walk by, and there's so much to be done, but no one really knows about it. You hear on the news, Katrina's kind of an old story now, because it's hard to imagine it looking like this and being in the United States. We assume that everything's fixed by now, so.
To Ronald and his friend, Henry Fagan, returning and rebuilding the lower Ninth Ward is not an option, but a necessity.
But I wasn't a grieving person. I grieve for New Orleans.
Yeah.
I love New Orleans so much. I've been here 66 years.
Yeah.
You know, what else do I know?
You know what?
They don't second line in
these streets is our life.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when they talk about New Orleans is the most African city in the streets talking thing, you know, when people ask me, well, if you move back in your block and you're the only one there, I told them, I said, this is my street. This is my neighborhood. You know, I feel this community. So being the only one in this location at that time is fine with me because I'm still home. Hurricanes is a way of life in the southeast region along the Gulf Coast. And it happens over and over, and people just goes on with their life. And New Orleans is no different. You know, the spotlight is about the significant damage that was done. But from Lakeview to the Lower Ninth Ward was still people's lives. Matter the difference whether it was an upscale community or a blue-collar community like the Lower Nine, it still was just people's lives. And these people all have the same common cause of rebuilding the lives that they left before August 29, 2005.
Come down here. And, you can't really understand it until you see it. And you go to one of the parties that they have and see everyone dancing or hear someone talk about all the Mardi Gras traditions. You can't understand it from outside, so come and see it.
New Orleans is me. The life, the culture, everything. So I'm here to show the people of my community that through this tragedy, we can have a new beginning, a new life and thing, and that's what I'm working towards.